Okay, we're live.
Woo!
So,
Who's starting? What are we going to start with?
I was, I feel like I'm on your show, so I was like, I'll leave it to Kate, but I'm
I'll
happy to
start
do
if you
whatever.
want. I'll start. So we both decided, didn't we? Was it last month or the month before to do a LinkedIn Live? I'm trying to
Yeah,
think now.
month before, I think. It's been in the works for a while. It's taken us a little while to settle on a date.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll explain a bit about backgrounds in a little bit, but we've worked together for a good couple of years now, haven't we? And we always meet up and have our little rants, don't we? And our little catch ups about stuff, very opinionated stuff. And we just thought, why don't we do a live where we talk about, because obviously Bethan's from the marketing side, I'm from the sales, although Bethan obviously does sales in her business as well. We thought, why don't we do a live? Come on here, talk about some of the topics we're seeing go on with our clients or just in the business world in general, and put the world to rights a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot that we talk about between us that I'm like, people need to hear this. This is
Yeah.
some good stuff. We should get it out. And we've already got people joining. I can see that we've got people in the chat saying hello. So thank you to everyone who's kind of
Hi,
watching,
Louis.
whether you're on like replay, catching up, or live. Really appreciate people like showing their support and coming to listen into our ramblings.
Yeah, they might turn into ram. It depends what we start talking about, isn't it? But
Yeah, let's see how this unfolds.
they
Session
could go into
one, let's go.
ramblings. Should we start with some intros? Because I suppose there might be people watching that don't really know us that well.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
So I'm Kate. I've got my own recruitment training and coaching business called Kate O'Neill Coaching. Um, I have been in the recruitment industry for just over 10 years. Fell into recruitment like everybody does, started in mainly engineering recruitment, and then spent the bulk of my career doing pharmaceutical sales, medical device sales, commercial type recruitment, basically. And led the graduate division of the business, and then, like a crazy person, decided to leave my full-time job with a salary and good money to set a business up in January 2021. And that's where I am now. I'm still running the business. It's growing. And that's kind of how I got to know Bethan, is because when I started the business, I went to her for marketing support, and that takes us to where we are now. So yeah, do you want to introduce yourself,
Yeah.
Bethan?
Yeah, so I'm Bethan. I run a digital marketing agency called Red Digital and Events. Um, I've been in marketing for forever. It's one of those things, like Kate said, I completely fell into it. When I was a teenager, I had like a YouTube channel that I grew to like 10,000 subscribers or so. And you have to quite quickly learn how to market to do that. And I didn't even know it was a thing, but I loved it. And kind of a few years later, discovered that was a real career, that I could like market stuff and products and people. And did it for about 10 years. But yes, same as Kate, I was working full time for a really great company, like in a marketing department with a huge team around me to support in every aspect, and kind of hit a point where I was like, no, I'm going to do the crazy thing of doing this myself instead. Um, and I should mention that like I work with online businesses as well. So I have quite a specific take on marketing and sales. All the people that I work with kind of deliver and build their businesses online. A lot of the time they're coaches or like consultants, or people in that area that build businesses and deliver their services through Zoom or through LinkedIn or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and I think it's been for the last couple of years quite tough, isn't it, for online? Well, not just online business owners, like any business owner, but we actually understand that because we've done it ourselves as well, haven't we?
Yeah. Yeah. And we were saying yesterday, like Kate set up her business in the middle of a lockdown here in Wales. I left full time work in December 2019. Little did I know what was like laying ahead of me. So we've both really kind of had to those waters, the choppy waters ourselves. So we've been there.
Yeah, and there has been a lot of choppy waters.
Yeah, yeah.
What did we
Okay.
have on the should we get started? And because we had loads of ideas yesterday, didn't we, about what we wanted to talk about?
Yeah, probably too much to fit into this session, so let's
I
get
was gonna
started for
say,
sure. So
I
the
was gonna
first thing that
say.
we talked about that we said we would like jump back on today is the concept of the differences between sales and marketing, and how marketing is primarily a brand awareness activity and sales is primarily a customer getting activity.
Mhm.
Um, and how they are actually different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But but I mean, they intertwine, but yeah, they're different. And I think some people think that and you probably see this with your clients, I don't know, that marketing purely on its own will help them grow their business and get them customers. And it's like you said, it's different to sales.
Mhm.
You get
Yeah.
that a lot.
The amount all the time, the amount of times that I'll have, like, a call with someone who's interested in working with us, and we'll be like, "Hey, how are you, going? Like, what is your plans for your business? What are your big goals? What can we help you with?" And a lot of the time, I'll have that conversation, and they'll be like, "We just really want an extra 5 customers." And we'll be like, "Great, okay, so but from a marketing perspective, like, what is it you wanna focus on, so that we can help with that?" And so often, they, like, look to us like, "Well, no, I told you I want more customers, like, you need to do this for me." And there's a fine line because marketing does bring you leads and
Mm.
it does bring you awareness of your brand, but it is never going to cross the finish line for most people. Because we're talking, both of us work in service based B2B space where your services that cost a lot of money. No one is going to be like, "Oh, Bethan's posted a lovely social media post for me today. Sign me on
Sign me
up."
up.
That's
Where's the dotted line? I'm buying it
yeah.
now.
Yeah,
I wish.
and that's the thing that we have to, like, educate quite a lot on when we're talking about marketing. We have to quite often teach the coaches, the solopreneurs that we're working with, they're like, "Oh, hey, like, you actually need your own sales policy and strategies as well to kind of pick up where we leave off. We can't get them over the finish line, so to speak, for you."
Yeah. And I think what frustrates me about that mindset as well is that like sales is all about relationships. And again, we're a
Mm,
service-led business. It takes a lot of trust, and it's an investment. It's not a cheap service to have because of the level of work that goes into it, etc., etc. So you can't expect somebody to know you and trust you and want to work with you long term off maybe looking at your website once and seeing a few posts on social media. It's like it's not going to work that way. You've got to put the time into understanding their needs, building the relationship, talking to them, actually physically speaking to them instead of hiding behind a keyboard.
yeah, yeah, that's a big one. I think a lot of, a lot of the time when we have these conversations, I know that the concept of people hating the phone comes up quite regularly. That's a struggle that you have on your end as well, Kate.
Yeah, I think that the hiding behind the tech thing been happening, I reckon, for the last couple of years, and COVID, I think, kind of started it. But yeah, use a variety of approaches and use what we've got, the technology that's there, but you can't solely rely on it. And if it doesn't have to be a phone call, it could be a Zoom meeting or a Teams
Mm,
meeting or a face to face. Like now, we can go and meet people face to face. Go and meet somebody if they're not too far away, but yeah, long term, people that buy your service are also buying it because they like you.
mm.
Because
Yeah, agreed.
I know
Different people, all of that.
yeah, for me and you, there's loads of coaches and trainers out there, but there's
Mm,
only one people that if anyone's watching this that I've trained, they'll be laughing because I say this all the time. There's only one. There's only one you. So
yeah,
the way for those people to gain that trust that they like you and they want to work with you is by speaking to them so they get to know you. You can't hide behind. You can't solely rely on marketing and hide behind the digital side if you want to seriously bring in sales.
yeah. No, I agree. And I think on that, a lot of people as well hide away from being themselves even on their marketing. Like they will
Yeah.
to be like perceived as this like perfect person, right? So they'll try and change how they portray themselves because
Mm.
they see Amy Porterfield that does it this way, so oh, I should do it like her. Or they've worked with a coach and they're like, oh, I loved how they did it, I want to do it like them. And they kind of mimic other people instead of focusing in on themselves. And yeah, I agree. I think it's a similar thing that sometimes if you don't lean into that, who you really are, and you don't let yourself be the star that shines, a lot of the time people do it in the worry of like, oh, I don't want to put people off. But usually it does the opposite. Like I swear like a sailor. Everyone hates it in my family. Like my, will comment online and stuff and say like about my language, and I just don't. Excuse the French. I just don't give a fuck. Like this is how I talk.
Yeah,
So
this
it's
is
how I
me.
talk when I'm online as well. Yeah, like that's
I
how
think
what you
that's really
get if you were in a
important.
conversation with me.
I think that's really important. I swear with clients on my YouTube videos, on the workshops I deliver, everything, because that is who I am. I'm the same as you. You know, I don't force it. I don't try and swear on purpose, but
Yeah,
it's just the way I speak. So I'm not going to change that. And if somebody doesn't like it, then I'm not the right person for them. But I think we were talking about this yesterday about you know, when you are reaching out for sales and in your marketing content, speak as if as if you are speaking, because people feel
yeah,
like it's not a robot, it's a real person. You're giving them that space to be vulnerable themselves. Because I don't know about you, but I literally have wanted to shoot myself recently because the amount of people on LinkedIn I've got adding me who are coaches for coaches and apparently are going to turn my business into a 6-figure business in less than 24 hours, or social media content creators that are going to change my life in a day. I'm
yeah.
inundated and haven't even tried to find out what I actually need or want. And it's this really cringy,
Hmm.
robotic sales message. And I know it's a copy and paste template. You can just
Yeah,
tell.
yeah. I agree. I think the way I was saying it to Kate yesterday is like we don't really show up online like normal people. Like if we were in a social situation, we wouldn't do the things we do online in that social situation. Like if you were in, think of LinkedIn as a big networking meeting, you wouldn't walk up to 10 people in a networking meeting and introduce yourself authentically to all of them. It it just wouldn't happen. We don't walk up and be like, "Hi, my name's Bethany from Red Digital Events. Nice to meet you. Would you be interested in?" Like that's not how a conversation goes in real life.
And if you did,
But for
you'd
some
be like,
reason, people do it
oh,
online. Yeah, yeah. And it's this concept as well of like sometimes the other way where they don't even want to reach out. They don't want to do the sales thing because they feel like they're being too pushy.
mm,
And I get that feedback a lot of like, oh well, why am I messaging this person? Like it feels really weird. And I'm like, okay, but this person that we're having the conversation about has liked the last 10 of your social media posts. Like they have commented on stuff. They
we're
clearly, you
interested.
again, yeah, if you're in a room together, they're glancing at you, they're like smiling and waving, and you're just ignoring them. Go and say hi. Like
Yeah.
it's the equivalent.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think as well, like it feels weird because it's outside of your comfort zone. You can't expect just
Hmm.
to be confident in something. Confidence is something that this is all fresh in my mind because I've done a confidence workshop this morning. It's a skill, and you can't expect for it to come to you. You've got to take action to gain confidence. So if you're not used to outreaching to customers, of course, it's going to feel weird and strange at first. But once you start doing it more regularly, you won't even bat an eyelid about it. And yeah, I think it's you've without taking action. And sometimes the thing I say to myself quite often is, "What have I got to lose? Don't ask, don't
Mm,
get." And what's the
yeah,
worst they can do?
100%.
Ignore me or say no, and at least I know it's a no, or
Yeah.
a not right now. I don't take no for an answer, but I think it's you've got to get to be comfortable in doing something. You've got to start doing it in the first place, haven't you? Really?
Yeah, agreed. I I definitely struggled with that when I was first getting started. I didn't like reaching out to people because I felt like I was bothering them. That was this thing that I had in my head all the time, that I was like interrupting their day or bothering them. And I remember you and I talked about
Mm,
it, and you had said like if people are busy, they just won't look at the message. Like, then you're not grabbing them on the shoulder and interrupting the middle of their day. They'll answer you when they're ready, kind of thing, and it helps get a little bit more of a realistic perspective.
Yeah, if they're busy and you ring them, they'll tell you, or they won't answer, and then you just organise another time to ring them back. Or I think in sales, people will make a lot of assumptions. So, oh, I won't call
Mm,
that person because I don't think they want to be called. And I'll always come back with, do you think or do you know?
mm,
Tell me the facts that you know that person doesn't want you to call you. Doesn't want you to
yeah.
call them, or they don't want you to message. If it's made on, if you can't prove it to me factually, then you're just making an excuse. You don't
Yeah, no,
know.
that's a really good point. Yeah, I do that all the time. I also will decide on my end that, like, people that I've sent proposals to, oh, no, they can't be interested. They haven't messaged me back, but like they're probably just busy, and I need to back in touch with them, and I
Well,
know
think
that
about us in
now.
our business as well.
Yeah,
We talked
yeah,
about it yesterday,
exactly.
didn't we? About being busy
Mhm.
and having to prioritize and leaving some things till the next day. They're probably thinking exactly the same.
Yeah, and for them, they have clients that's their priority. They're my priority because they're a potential client, but I'm just a supplier to them. They've got other things going on. So I've had to stop taking everything so bloody personally in the process of trying to sell as my own kind of, as a business owner, being my own salesperson, and get into this habit of like, you're just assuming that they haven't actually told you. So until they do, work on the assumption that they care, work on the assumption that they're interested. It doesn't need to
Mm.
be a negative assumption.
I think we're quite similar as well in that we are very driven, and a lot of people in sales and marketing as well, I'm sure, can resonate with this, especially if you've got your own business, where yeah, very driven and very caught up on like deadlines and dates people have got to let you know by. And if they don't let you know by that date, it
Yeah.
means they're not interested. And I'm trying to
Yeah.
let go of that a little bit, because from learning from my own experience, like sometimes you've just got so many plates to spin, you can't meet some of those dates, and actually sometimes you can push people away by being too, I need to take control, I need to take control, and it's kind of easing off that a tiny bit, isn't it? Not completely, but easing back a tiny
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, for sure. Just quick, I've seen that we've had a message come in through LinkedIn, asking a quick question. I can't see who the user is, unfortunately, so I can't shout you out. But somebody asked, they said, I don't know if it's the right time to ask questions, but what are your thoughts on where digital marketing will settle post-pandemic? I have some thoughts. Do you have any insight you want to share, Kate, before I go on a rampage?
Um, I think with digital, I mean, I see benefits. I mean, I use it for my business, don't I? So obviously, I just think you can't solely rely on it. And I also think, and this is a big opinion of mine, if you aren't experienced in it and you're trying to, especially if you're trying to run your own business, bloody hell, outsource it. Like, or get some
Mm,
help. It is such a big job, and if you want to do it properly and it work and it be a benefit to your brand, like you probably are going to have to invest in it, because it makes the world of difference, and you can't do everything.
yeah. Yeah, you know what? That's a really good point. We were talking about this. It's so accessible to people to do social media content that a lot of people do just like think, oh, I can give it a stab. Like, I know how to write, so I can do it.
I've got
And they
Canva.
don't yeah, yeah, that's the good one. Canva's free. Why wouldn't I just do this myself? Um, the thing that I struggle with, and I feel like I'm banging my head against a wall trying to convince people, is it's not just this thing of throwing shit at a wall and hoping that something's going to stick. Like, there is rhyme and reason to why we do, as a marketing agency, the things that we do. And I see other people like, oh, I would never use an agency. Why would you pay that much? Like, you can do it all yourself. And it makes me cringe a little bit sometimes, because I'm like, if only you knew how far off the mark you are, if
Mm.
only you knew the strategic elements that you just don't know yet. And it's like, there's people who like teach and are in their whole life, they are learners forever. They're working with universities, like academics will say, the more you know about something, the more you realize that you don't actually know anything about it. And that's how I feel about marketing, is people look at it from the outside and they feel like they can just sum it up and it's easy. But the more you learn, the more you'll realize that there's a lot more to it and it gets a lot deeper than that. So yeah, that's a big pet peeve of mine, is it when people are like, oh, it doesn't work for me because they've done it themselves and it hasn't had the outcome that they've expected. Whether they invest in sort of upskilling themselves or in someone else doing it, that's up to them. But you need to learn how to do it and know what to do to be able to kind of comment on that.
I think I think the pandemic has made, I might be wrong on this because I'm not the marketing expert in the room, but maybe has made people more reliant on digital marketing, because through the pandemic, obviously we were stuck at home, everything was done on computers, and actually maybe it's taken people away from the old school. I don't even think it should be called old school, but it seems to be just, speaking to people, like face-to-face stuff. I don't know whether you've seen that, whether the pandemic's kind of pushed more people online, really.
Well, I think there was already a lot of people online. What I think it's done is sped up where we were from, and this is marketing specific. I think sales has definitely changed, and there's some really interesting data out there. Like there's this thing called Gartner report, which has a really interesting breakdown of how B2B sales has changed in a post-pandemic world. For me, I think that I don't think anything will settle backwards. I don't think now digital marketing will take a step back, or that the trends that we're seeing will all of a sudden like ease off and people will start using it less. What I do think is that businesses will have to adjust quite quickly, and especially bigger businesses that have been running for a while. Like, when you think of the people who typically will have like a big sales department and one person working in marketing, like businesses that are structured in that way are quite quickly getting this realization that like, oh, all the previous sales tactics that we were doing need something else. Because people these days don't really wait for the phone to ring to make a purchase when they're in B2B space. They will do some research themselves first. They'll find out about the product. The call will be the kind of finishing touch point. But if you don't have the other stuff, you'll be left in the dust. In this day and age, is my opinion. And I think a lot of the time, a lot of companies have this issue where sales and marketing are almost flipped. Like they look at marketing as, we just need numbers, we just need you to bring people in. And they look at sales as, you're the guys who need to educate on the product. And really, marketing should educate on the product, sales should take it over the finish line. So I think there's a lot of change that's happening right now. And I will say, if anyone's like interested in kind of post-pandemic marketing for B2B, there's a lady that I'm connected with called Jade Tambini, who has the most incredible way of explaining out this kind of B2B sales journey and how it's changed. So definitely go and give her a little look. She does lives just like this one, actually, where she breaks down kind of what's going on in the world and the customer journey for B2B.
Oh, sounds good. What else did we have on
going around there?
Topics?
Yeah, next up we had this concept of people like not only hiding behind the tech, as in hiding behind messages, hiding behind marketing, but also only doing it in one way. So hiding behind this like singular way that they're comfortable with, which I think you explained really nice yesterday. So I'm going to bat that over to you to take it away.
Yeah. So, I mean, I see this in recruitment a lot, but I think it's just a sales thing, is they'll try something and they'll find it works, and then they'll just be doing it all the time. So in the recruitment industry in the last couple of years, there's something we call kind of spec-in, or CV spec-in, has been really popular in bringing in business, mainly because it's been a candidate-led market. There's a candidate shortage in loads of industries. So, you know, employers are desperate to fill their jobs. They're more willing to give them to agencies. So it, you know, it's just sending a CV basically of a great candidate you've got to get that bite, to get that interest. And I think, okay, that's great. You know, it clearly works in some instances, but for me, how are you standing out from the crowd if everybody is doing it? But also you're losing some muscle memory and some other skill areas that you need with sales. And you need a varied approach. Like, I didn't mention it in my intro, but I'm a behavioural profiling specialist. I do a lot of work with DISC, which Bethan and her company have done as well. They're accredited as well. We're all different. We all communicate differently. Different things motivate us. We even like emails to be written differently. You know, we're all very different, and to rely on just one method of outreach is quite risky because you don't know the other person's preferred method. Like, you've probably had it before. I've got friends where I'll ring them and they don't answer. I can send them a text or a WhatsApp. They'll come back to me straight away. They've got their phone by them, but they just hate speaking on the phone. And like, I'm training a group of boys at the moment, and I always set a WhatsApp group up when I train, just so we can share funny memes, and if they're struggling with anything, you know, it's a support little group. They never blow me right on it. I've never had a WhatsApp group used as little as they do, but I know from profiling them and speaking to them, it's just not their, you know, one of them said, I just prefer to speak on the phone. You know, imagine if that person was a target customer of mine and I never, ever, ever rang him, I'd probably never win him as a client.
Yeah.
So it's really risky just relying on one way because it's comfortable for you and it's your preferred method of communication.
And I think that goes into, like, you're talking about DISC profiling and how people's personalities all work differently. But even down, like, from a marketing side, having things like your ideal customer avatar, like identifying who is the typical type of person that I'm trying to reach out with.
Where are they?
Their preferred ways. Like, do they prefer email because they're busy and they don't want to answer the phone because they're in Zoom meetings all day, every day, and kind of addressing some of those things to help you figure out what the hell you should do. I think a lot of the time we do these actions in either sales or marketing, do the same thing over and over because that's like, oh, I know how to do this thing. And we don't actually think about the person on the other end, what they need from us to be able to say, yeah, let's go ahead and find out more information, or even how they need to hear from us. Like, it comes into every aspect. I'm definitely what you would call like a customer-led marketer. I'm a big advocate for like putting them in the forefront of everything, their emotion, their goals, their everything. And it usually works better than making it about you because no one else cares about you. Sorry to break it to you listening, but we all care about ourselves, your clients included. They care about themselves. So make it about them and they'll probably be a bit happier.
Yeah, and I might be skipping ahead because I know I think it was one of our topics on the list.
No, go ahead.
I think we were talking about the whole building a brand thing. And it's what I think a lot of salespeople, recruiters need to get into more is, you know, and it links perfectly in with marketing is, okay, you can post your ad for your job you work in on the job boards. You can put a LinkedIn little status up like, I've got this great job, blah, blah, blah. But what about posting a video? Record a video and post it talking about the job, or just some videos now and again. You know, on LinkedIn, you've got the video function. You've got voice notes now as well. You know, a variety of posts, different types of posts. You could do a reel or something, you know, like, because it's helping you in your sales process, but it's giving different forms of communication. And also it's helping people know you and your brand and over the bog standard basic stuff. I know a lot of people are frightened of video, but I think it's such a great tool.
I think it's that concept, and we can tie this into sales as well, actually, of like, if they don't like something, I don't like it, I'm not good at it. Like, that's the mindset. So you just don't do it. And I think Video's big with that. For me, a lot of people, maybe their clients or people I have worked with, people that have been coaching clients, and this fight to get people on video is a real big one because it is like time and time again proving itself to be so beneficial. And even though I can show people like all the numbers to make them see logically that like it will do you some benefit to just get your face in front of the camera for a selfie or a video, like at any point, but getting your face in front of the camera is huge. And I can give people all this evidence and then logically understand and know and still not be able to take their, I don't like it, I'm scared of it, I'm no good at it before I've even tried.
You just got to do it.
Yeah, I agree. Done's better than perfect. Who cares if you're no good at it? You'll get better.
Have you
will
seen
look
my
back
first
and
YouTube
cringe,
video?
but yeah, same.
It's
same.
fucking awful. I did it in lockdown. I hadn't had my eyebrows or hair or anything done for months. I literally was in I was in my comfies or a tracksuit. I don't even think I planned what I was going to say. I was just like, oh, I'll just record.
Turn the camera on.
Filmed it in portrait for starters, which is a no-no for YouTube.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. It's still up there. Go and watch it, guys, because it's hilarious. But
even Kate can do rubbish video. She's great in it now.
But I just think, do you know what? I kind of, even though it's still up, you might think, like some people might think, oh, I'll delete it and record a new one. I just think, who cares? Like, you know,
the world isn't going to burn down if you've got a video that isn't your best piece of work. Yeah. I do think as well, though, some people are a lot more shy, a lot more introverted, like in their disc personalities and all those sorts of things. They aren't going to be as comfortable with this as you and I might be. Then just don't post it. Like, you don't have to post everything you film.
No.
But until you get in front of a camera, you're never going to get used to that sensation and get better at it either.
It's good to practice. But remember, you can edit the videos.
Yeah. Also, yeah, just cut out the ums and ahs.
Just cut out the bits you don't like. Silly. Unfortunately, I've yet to see that you can put a filter on a long YouTube video.
You can, but not on the video editing software we use.
Yeah. So maybe I could go back on my first YouTube video and stick a different head. Yeah, you can. And if you know this, it doesn't matter if you make mistakes because you can edit it out. No one's going to know.
And it also just doesn't matter if you make mistakes. Like, this is the other thing. If you were on a Zoom call with someone,
we both went
first show nerves. No, but like if you were on a Zoom call with a client and you mucked up your words, you wouldn't like have a meltdown. You would just take a deep breath and say it again. Like it is literally, it's that deep. It's no big deal. If you would do it in any other place and point of time with your business, then why does it matter just because it's kind of like public facing on something like LinkedIn?
People like to see you being mess up. Like people want to, not in a bad way, but I think people just want to see you're a normal person.
Relatability, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. Maybe don't send people like LinkedIn messages with the wrong name, but apart from that,
oh my god, have you done that before?
No, I've had it on though, and I will say I've had a couple of good recoveries, but it's tough.
I remember doing it. Must have been in like my second year of recruitment, and I was doing the old. I don't do this anymore, and I don't tell people to do it. Copy and paste a message.
Yeah.
And I forgot to change the name, and the guy was like, "My name isn't James." Actually, like kicked off basically and removed the connection. I was like, that didn't work.
I've had it happen on email marketing because, like, in email marketing, you use they're called like variables. And it basically, I'll say like, hi, first name, and it'll auto-populate the first name from it. And I had it happen before, and I had someone email me back and be like, you spelled my name wrong, and like I got really pissed off about it. What was really funny was that's how they filled it in on the form.
I was going to say,
yelling at me.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like yelling at me, and I was like, I didn't like write your name wrong. The system did it for me, and you spelled your name wrong. But yeah, that's like the only thing I can think of from memory.
I'm glad you brought up email marketing because you've just reminded me of something else we were going to talk about that you introduced me to in the summer.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, when doesn't matter, but I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So obviously, I'm I do all the sales for my business, but I'm not like in the know of all the marketing stuff. And I was doing, it was that free event. I was doing an event, wasn't I? It was on, oh, I can't remember what it was on now, but it was a free event I did in August. And I was just concerned about getting the message out there. And there's only so much outreach one person can do. And you introduced me to this kind of email marketing, sequencing stuff,
Yeah.
which has just been so, like, literally, I was like, what? This even, I didn't even know it existed, but so useful. And I think we were talking about how people think email marketing is dead, but it's so not, is it?
No, not at all. Yeah, for me, I look at social media is people make it out to be like the star of the show, but it's very much a small part of how you kind of turn somebody from just being interested in you to becoming a customer. I actually had this member of my team that were training up his kind of like strategy knowledge, and we're working together. And yesterday we were going through these circumstances of like, if someone wants 1,000 followers, what would we do? If someone wanted new customers, what would we do that could help them with it? And the first thing we say when we're talking about getting customers and actually developing beyond just like social media followers or brand awareness is get them off social. That was the first like topic that we covered. Um, and I think there's a few ways you can go about that then. There is, you directly message them and you get them straight in a one-to-one on Zoom. Perfect if that's an option for you. But not everyone is going to be ready or willing to kind of give up half an hour of their time straight away. And email marketing is a really great way to kind of bridge that gap, that you're getting them to commit a little bit further. Like, they're now having to give you their email address. So that's, they've committed to something, they've given you a piece of their data, and you have then the ability to be able to reach out and contact them. So that's a huge thing to like start the process, and you can use your mailing lists to kind of nurture people slowly but surely. And it's a lot more effective than doing it on social media. The conversion rates are usually a lot better. But what Kate's referring to is this kind of cold outreach tool that I use through email as well. It's a piece of software that, well, the one that I'm familiar with is called Apollo, and it will kind of send out mails to people who are on the database on this platform, with X, Y, Z, whatever you need to put into it. So a really good example here is giving them something freebie. So we quite often recommend something like a free workshop, a free event, or a free downloadable resource is a really great way to get people to kind of show an interest in what you do. And yeah, you can automate these sequences to just send out messages to people who match your ideal customer. And that's a whole new network of people that you maybe didn't have access to beforehand, which is such a difference when you're trying to build a business, especially if you're B2B service based like us. We don't need thousands and thousands of people. We just need a couple of hundred to give us a year's worth of work. So it's that kind of concept of, you can add a few more numbers to it, so you can pretty much start targeting people early on so that you've got enough numbers there to be able to sell out your full year of diary.
Yeah, and it's getting those, like you said, it's getting those leads. You can't
Yeah,
use that solely and think this will get me X amount of customers. It's the leads, and you've got to then
it's
convert
a
those
lead. Yeah,
leads, whether that's
yeah.
through the free workshop or whatever you do. But yeah, I think,
Well, and that's where your sales strategies come into place. Like, the marketing strategy will take you to the point where they are a name that you can now have a conversation with. You have something that you can talk to them about and send them. But yeah, what's then your sales strategy to get them to be a customer?
and I think I always think with sales, if you can come away with just one little extra piece of info that gets you that little bit closer to a meeting or whatever, a sale, amazing. So if I've got an email address out of it,
Yeah.
whatever, you can go people's LinkedIn profiles and it'll show you their contact detail.
Yeah. Yeah,
which
exactly.
is
These are
great
all
for
listed. Like,
sales. It's great.
it's it. Sorry, I think we're having a little bit of connection lag, so I don't know how
Yeah,
this
there's a
is
few other.
looking for anyone on like watching how it's flowing, but there's just a little bit of connection issue. So if we're speaking over each other, sorry about that. That's why.
Beauty of
Okay, so
technology.
looking then at I know. Looking then at what else we had, we talked a little bit about video and saying like I don't like it, I'm bad at it. I just wanted to spin back round to that from the perspective of sales because I hear this day in, day out, and I hear this from people who are like, "Oh, I don't like sales, I'm really bad at it." And then when I actually have a deeper conversation with them, I'm like, "Oh, well, how do you like get customers then? Like you run your own business, so what do you do to be able to get customers?" 9 times out of 10, these are like really natural salespeople who just have a like mental block because they'll be like, "Oh well, when I get someone on a Zoom call, like they always say yes. They always want to work with me." So I'm like, okay, well then it sounds like you're actually probably pretty good at sales. You just don't have the procedure in place or whatever. But I wanted to know your thoughts, like being the expert in that field. You must come across this pushback that people have like a negative view of what they're like as a salesperson. What do you think that kind of stems down to?
Well, I think the thing I have to work with the most is that people have a negative perception of sales. So first of all, I've got to
Yeah,
break through that. Um,
used car salesman vibe.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So, it's getting, I often will ask them, like, do you like helping people? Do you like communicating? Do you like building relationships? Do you like providing solutions? And the answer is always yes. And it's like, well, that is sales. It's not
yeah,
what you think it is. And I think a lot of it can be a confidence issue. But yeah, a lot of the time it's me breaking their perceptions and their mindset around things. So, for me, especially when they're making their first calls to candidates, it's like, well, what do you think the candidate wants? If they put their CV on a job board or what do you think they want? Well, they want to get a job. Okay. What do you think we want out of that call? We want to get them a job. It's a shared interest. And when you start seeing it that way, so like that person who said, "Oh, when I get them on a Zoom call, I'm selling." Well, first of all, you've got them on the Zoom call, which is sales in itself, and then in the call, you've clearly identified a need, which is why they're buying. If you are clever about sales, it's all about providing a solution to their problem. You're not actually having to sell, but you've got to find out the problem. So, yeah, I do get some people that think they're not very good at X, Y, and Z. And, if I listen to their calls or look at their interactions, it's like, you're great. I think it's a bit of imposter syndrome sometimes.
fair. I do too. I think a lot of it, like you said, comes down to this. They have this perception of what they think sales is. They think that it's going to be forcing people to buy something that they don't want, and that kind of concept. And it's not. And you and I both know that. But they and a lot of times I have this conversation, they are business owners. They aren't salespeople. They've
Mm.
never wanted that. They want to do what they're good at. They want to be a coach, or they want to do what their expertise sits within. So this concept of thinking like, oh, I've now got to be a salesperson feels like a whole nother thing to have to tackle.
Yeah. And I think I've had a situation, I've been working with somebody who's come into recruitment from a call center background, but not
Mm-hmm.
quite like a hard sell, very much cold calling. And it's trying to break those perceptions of what he's experienced, because recruitment is very different. Despite what people think, it is all about relationships, very much about the
Mm-hmm.
customer, client, candidate, whatever you want to call them. Really understanding them, building a relationship. It's not picking up the phone and pushing your job down someone's throat, or picking up the phone and pushing our services down a client's throat. It's really not like that. And it's trying to break the perceptions around it, just because it's
Yeah.
affecting then their view on, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, or I shouldn't be doing that, or I'm not very good at this, or do you know what I mean? But it's
Yeah.
past
Yeah.
stuff. It's not even related to what's going on now.
Yeah. That's really interesting that you mentioned like the recruitment. Quite literally, you're dealing in people. Like your product is people.
And you've got
It's
two
that
sales
intent.
processes.
You've got to, yeah, you've got to sell the candidate and you've got to sell the client. So for background, I did once do a stint in recruitment for about a year. So I was very junior and I did mostly temp work. So will preface with that, but I do know the industry. And when I think back, some of the best recruiters that I know are people who I wouldn't even like think of as being salespeople first and foremost, but I would think of them as being like they make you feel like you're the most important person in the room whenever you're with them. Like they're
Yeah.
really good at that, like feeling super connected to them, even if you've just met them. So interesting that you kind of phrase it like that because it's so obvious now that you said it. But
Yeah, and I'm going to do a shout out if you're still watching to Louis, because Louis is I know how good Louis is at recruitment, but he is one of those people where he can speak to somebody and it's like he's known them his whole
yeah,
life. Do you know the relationship, the rapport is just there. It's not a hard sale. It's not a hard sales role. It's not what people think it is at all. It's so much about relationship building. So yeah, I think for me, it's breaking the perceptions of sales very early on to let go of some of these beliefs so they don't go
mm,
into stuff with already bad habits, really.
yeah, and even beyond perception, coming on to kind of something else that we talked about is that I feel like everyone's trying to do everything all at once. If from their sales, they're trying to do all of the actions that they think might get them a little bit further. They're like, okay, I need to be doing cold calling, messaging, email shots, candidate outreach. Like I need to do everything all at once. Not candidate outreach, candidate shots, like pitching out CVs, and they're doing a million things. And as important it is to be varied, in marketing the same, they're trying to be on 5 different platforms at the same time, and they're trying to develop a series of videos while also doing like 20 other things. And I really think that a lot of this is just like, overcomplicated, and people get overwhelmed, and their perceptions of sales and marketing can be negative
Mhm.
because there's so many people out there telling you different kind of pieces of advice and
You need
pushing
to
you in
do
different
this.
directions.
I get it all the time. Oh, you need to get on
Yeah,
TikTok, Kate. You're missing out. You need to get on TikTok. You need to be on Twitter. You need to be on Twitter. And it's like, I don't want to be on loads of social media platforms.
yeah. You don't need to do everything on for any part of your business or your career. You don't need to do everything because it's just not possible.
No.
Um, and I will say I've been noticing lately as well with everything that's going on from the kind of in the economy at the minute. A lot of people seem to be coming to me with this conversation of like, oh, what would you do to just get? I just need one more customer. I just need one more customer to like make sure that I've got enough money coming in. What would you do? And it's these sad conversations that I'm having with people who are really struggling, but they are doing everything, and so much of their time and
Spread too
energy is being
thin.
spent, yeah, spreading themselves too thin. A lot of the time, it's a case of, well, what is bringing you in a customer?
Mm,
Do that times 10, and then use whatever spare time you have left to do the extra stuff,
mm.
rather than 80% of your time doing the daily to-do list that you've kind of given yourself, and built up over time of, I have to post on my stories and I have to make sure that I've messaged 10 people on LinkedIn today and I have to do, and then the list just keeps growing because someone else has told you, oh, you should do that.
Yeah. We were going to talk about, we've got about 10 minutes left, haven't we? We were going to talk about the economy, weren't we?
Yeah, we're getting into that now.
We might as well. I'm sure it would kill 10 minutes. I mean, it probably would kill more than that, but it's
Yeah,
on a lot of people's minds at the moment, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. And I think I want to preface this conversation to anyone listening who is thinking like, oh my God, I'm in a bile situation right now and it's really tough. And I'm by no means trying to make this light-hearted or bat away like how serious the way of the world that we live in is right now. I am I'm there. I get it. I get that it's really is dire situation for a lot of people. But big but coming. I don't think it's as bad as people are potentially making it. I think there are ways out of, as a business owner especially, any kind of negative impact that the economy's had so far.
Yeah, I think we were talking about this yesterday, and I'm fully aware of what is potentially around the corner, but I'm also a bit
Yeah.
bored of people telling me all the time how difficult next year is going to be for me and my business. And we were reflecting yesterday. It's like, well, look, most businesses don't make it. I think it's 80% of businesses don't make it past their first year. So I've managed that hurdle,
Yeah.
bearing in mind set up in lockdown. I had no clients. I left my full-time job with 0 clients. And then, I've gone through that. And then we've gone through loads of other stuff going on this year. I mean, it's difficult running a business anyway. It's really not
Yeah.
easy. The challenges that I've gone through this year, I mean, Bethan will vouch for this. I've literally had about 3 breakdowns this year where I'm like, I'm just going to go and get
Only
a job,
3?
maybe more. And I just think, bring it on. Like, if I can survive
Yeah,
on it,
no, you've done it.
yeah, we'll just keep going. And I've just seen Pete's joined and commented, and so, and I know he agrees as well, saying it's not the end of the world. And this is exactly what you said yesterday, Bethan.
Yeah.
During downturns, there's a lot of money to be made. There's a lot of groundwork, but you can really grow during that upturn. That's exactly what we were talking about yesterday, and you said, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, there's something really interesting. So I came from freelance, is how I started my business. I worked full time and I had a quote unquote side hustle where I freelanced just me as a kind of marketing manager. And from there, it grew into an agency. So I see a lot of like statistics. I've got a lot of people in my network who are also freelancers. And I saw this really interesting breakdown recently about, and it was some statistics that were done. I couldn't give you an exact quote of the data, but it was basically looking at the data that has been in the past, any downturn in the economy, any kind of recessions that we've hit, that the freelance industry, small businesses, boom. Like consultants, freelancers, all those sorts of areas, trainers, boom. Because when you think of larger corporations, when you think of the people that I'm working with, Kate's working with, a lot of our clients are working with, their customers are still there. If you're in a big corporate business, you might not have as much money, so you're offlaying staff. You're having to deal with new challenges. So you will need to make sure that your team is as tip top as they can be. So you're going to hire trainers for that. You're going to hire coaches for that. You need to make sure that you are investing in freelancers to fill the gap, because freelancers will work out cheaper than employing and
Yeah.
training from scratch from someone that's newly employed. When you're in a bit of a like upturned market and everyone's going well, those companies are way more likely to just hire it internally because they've got the cash, they've got the funds, things are going all right. So why not just bring them in? When it's downturns, when they're not doing very well, they have to be more clever about how they spend. And they quite often will change the ratio of how much is being spent on staff to suppliers. So for us as small business owners who work with the B2B space, that sounds like a really good time. That sounds like we've actually got what could be a brilliant year ahead of us if these corporates are leaning on trainers, coaches, using freelancers to fill those gaps. We're all going to be fully booked, mate. I'm living in the world where this is a positive.
But I think as well, the people that did well through the recession, I know in the recruitment, not recession, COVID, in the recruitment world, were the people that saw it as an opportunity and did the groundwork, as Pete said, and came out and still had a really good year. The ones that were like, oh God, this is awful, I'm just going to be resigned to the fact it's going to be a crap year, everything's crap, did shit. And I think like next year, it's going to be tough. But I think that if you look at the opportunities that can come out of what's going on, like, for example, the services we provide are actually going to help bring more money into the business. So if they're trying to grow, yes, it's initially it's an investment. It's not so much a cost, so it's going to help grow their organizations or improve what they've got already. But yeah, I'm just getting a little bit bored. People telling me, "Oh, next year's going to be really tough for you." You know, oh God, you know, what will you do? Like, well, also it doesn't exist yet. It's not even 2023. So how do we actually know how bad it's going to be?
Yeah, and I don't get me wrong. I do think there'll be some wiggling and adjusting that we'll all do along the way to find a route that works for us. And it probably won't look like what it looked like in 2022 or 2021 or 2020. But does any year? I feel like I start every year and we've got to throw everything upside down and like find new routes and new paths. I think that's just the nature of the beast when you're running your own business, more so than it being like solely because of the economic crisis that everyone's
the way I'm thinking of it is, it's like big companies when they make redundancies, there's always a period of recruitment after where they go nuts, you know, growing. And I think it's kind of what's going to happen here, where there's going to be a period of like, you know, tighter budgets, cutbacks, all of that stuff. Understandable. I'm not being unrealistic. I know stuff like this is going to happen. But then I see there's going to be a lot of opportunities. If you can graft through the downtimes and keep some good customers and continue to outreach and grow and focus on your marketing, when that upturn comes, you are going to be the one they're going to come to. The relationships are there.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the thing, budgets will change, but there is still the same amount of money in the world. There is still lots of opportunity. What's the issue from our perspective is the people that hold the money, the percentage of people who hold it is small, but there's still so much money in the world. And when there is the ability to work online, when there is the ability to market yourself beyond the boundary of your local area that might be being impacted a little bit harder, but the companies that are in that space might be being hit a little bit harder, you can look further afield. I've just come back from 3 months working abroad in Bali, and all of my customers, or the vast majority of my customers, are in the UK. There's no reason in this kind of online world that 90% of what you deliver can't be done digitally, and that opens it up that then you can follow the money wherever it is and make it work.
Yeah, no, I'm determined to go into the new year not having a breakdown and just focusing on like having a bit of a plan and a strategy, but just taking each day as it comes and doing what needs to be done with the business. But I think you can bring it back to the sales versus marketing thing. I think next year it's even more important to focus on both and marry them together a little bit, and not just only do one or only do the other. Because you need to get your brand and your name out there. You need to be visible and have that presence in your market. So if you are the chosen one when they decide if their budget's going to be spent on coaching or training, they're going to be even more careful with who they go with. So you've got to be out there and visible.
Well, and the thing is, if you are one of the few that can marry the two together well, you're going to stand yourself out from your competitors so quickly, so easily, that it will become a no-brainer for people to kind of decide to work with you, and you can continue to build upon that reputation. Then I agree. I think now a lot of the time when we have economic downturns is a lot of the time when people like shut up shop with stuff like that, and they're like, just going to focus on working with my clients and making sure my clients are super happy, and they kind of, any outward facing persona starts to diminish, any personal brand starts to diminish, and it's like, now's not the time to do that. Now's the time to make sure that you are just as consistent with it, if not more so, on making sure that you're kind of taking and moving forward with sales and marketing strategies so that it pays off when you need it to.
I mean, you need to get in good habits with it, and habits, I think on average it takes 66 days to build a habit. So start now, like ready for 2023.
Yeah, which is absolutely bizarre to me that we are coming up to 2023. Like that sounds like the future. That doesn't sound like the world that we're living in. Yeah.
very, very quickly. And yeah, I'll be going into my 3rd year.
Ah,
Crazy,
congratulations.
crazy. But yeah, I think it's not going in with a negative. We were talking about perceptions. Go in with a positive perception, create opportunities, put the work in. There's no reason why yes, it'll be challenging, but isn't having a business challenging anyway?
Yeah, and people pick it up. I think if you go into a sales conversation with this concept of like, "Oh my god, I need the money," and "Oh my god, what if they say no?"
Yes,
And even if it's in the back
mindset.
of your hand, yeah, it comes across though, no matter how confident you think you look, like, if you've got that it's like the when you're waiting for a bus and 2 come at once, like, whenever I have a conversation with someone and they've been struggling for sales, they have nothing. Whenever then they get one and they feel really positive about it, they get, like, an influx of all of these things come in, and it's yeah, definitely mindset is gonna be a big thing for us all next year.
Yeah, for sure. Have we covered everything off that we wanted to talk about?
I think so, and I've
That's good
got the list, and
going.
I think we've gone through anything, and we're literally, like, right on time as well, and we've been on for 1 hour and 50 seconds,
That's good
so we've
going.
done it.
That is very good going. So we're going to be doing these monthly now.
Yeah, yeah, looking forward to seeing what we're gonna cover next month. I'm curious if anyone watching's got any takes, any hot takes they want us to follow up with next time
Mhm.
around.
We will get some guests on as well. People to come and join us from either well, it could be both perspectives, but kind of a sales or marketing perspective. I'm sure we'll have plenty more opinions to share as
We're
well.
not shy of those. We've got a few of those ready to swing around.
Yeah,
Okay,
just in the chat.
perfect. Well, there's nothing else in the chat I can see, so
No.
I think we're good to sign off. We will click end broadcast here and catch you all next month.
Bye.
Bye.